Hello, thanks very much for clicking on the video link. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin, and this is another in the series of Idle Chat videos for the American Bar Association's Section for Dispute Resolution. Today, I'm talking to a colleague who is British, living in Germany. Hi, Duncan, how are you?
Hi, Natalie. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure, it's a very international sense we have in today's Idle Chat. We've got an American living in France, a Brit living in Germany.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's the world. The world is a much bigger and smaller place than it used to be. You know, borders. It's great to be able to move around so easily, and that's also a benefit of a career in international arbitration. That you can that it's open to you to live and work in many more places.
Exactly right. And because of technology, here we are.
Exactly.
Here we are. So Duncan, I know that you've watched other of the videos for Idle Chat, but I've got my handy dandy cards here and we will give them a shuffle.
Okay.
And see what it is that you and I will get to talk about today. Are you nervous?
I am. I feel like I should be doing a drum roll or something.
Maybe we can edit in a drum
Okay, yeah,
roll.
we can add that in post, exactly.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Duncan, if you were hired to show tourists what it's like where you live, what would you be showing them?
Tourists, well, I feel that that's a bit of a lowball question, actually, because I live in Munich, which is probably one of Germany's most attractive cities for tourists because there's so much that you can see and do here. So in Munich, I would say no visit to Munich would be complete without a visit to the historic center with all its beautiful architecture, and of course some of the old traditional beer halls, like the Hofbräuhaus, which is particularly popular. And depending on what time of the year you're coming, of course, the Oktoberfest takes place, well, normally every year. Unfortunately, it hasn't taken place for the past few years for obvious reasons. But that's a really good opportunity to see kind of the beating heart of Munich and the spirit of the city. Everybody comes out wearing the traditional costume, the lederhosen, or the dirndl, so the traditional kind of these leather dungarees, or the dress. And to drink the traditional the liter steins of beer known in Germany as the Mass, and also a trip to Munich would not be complete without a visit to the beautiful countryside. So if you go down a bit more south from Munich, you'll reach the beautiful Bavarian Alps. And it's actually really very close. So I think that you can get to some of the places at the foothills of the Alps, you can get to even with 45 minutes on the train. And in the summer, it's really nice there to go hiking. There are many different trails that you can do with absolutely fantastic views, with panoramas of the mountains or of the lakes and the valleys below. And in the winter, you can, of course, go skiing. And it's even possible you can even do a skiing day trip where you load your skis in the car in the morning, you drive out to the mountains, try and beat the traffic, you reach the slopes, you ski a bit, you pack everything in the car and you go home all in a day's work. So there's a lot to see and do in Munich, both in the winter and the summer.
Yeah, Munich is a beautiful place. If you're watching this video and you haven't visited Munich, it really is one of the more beautiful cities on the planet. You should definitely go. All right. Duncan, upon what topic could you spend hours and hours talking?
Oh, that's a good one. Let me think. Topic that I could spend hours talking about. I would say, well, probably music. It's one of my most long-standing hobbies. So I'm quite a keen guitarist. I've played the guitar, both the acoustic and the electric guitar, from a young age. I think I first picked up a guitar and started playing it properly when I was around 11. And when I was still at high school, I even played a different time in my life. I had long hair down to my shoulders. I wore a lot of black. I played the electric guitar in a heavy metal band. And nowadays I've obviously got a job as a lawyer. I've cut my hair, but the musician in me still remains. And I try to play the guitar as much as time allows now. But I'm a huge fan of rock music from the 70s, from the 80s, and so on. And I could spend hours talking about that, like famous guitarists and bands and the guitar in general and music and so on. So it's still something that I'm quite passionate about.
So if I was going to force you to choose, do you choose Jeff Beck or Joe Bonamassa?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I'd go for Joe Bonamassa. I've seen him play live in concert before, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I also remember some years ago in Stockholm, I saw his band Black Country Communion, and I think just the style that they play, the blues style, and the way that he can just improvise and that they play off each other, it's fantastic. So I would say Joe. I've been a big fan of Joe Bonamassa for quite some time. Yeah, but Jeff Beck is obviously a wonderful guitarist too.
He is very good, but yeah, I got to be on Team Joe. I'm with you. I'm with you, my friend. All right. Duncan, are you a fan of sport?
Of sport? I can't say that I am, which may be strange coming from an Englishman living in Germany, that I'm not. I'm outing myself here as not such a big fan of the beautiful game, by which I mean football or soccer. But I do like playing sports on occasion. But I can't say that I'm a big fan of watching organized sport. Although that being said, when it comes to the big games, for instance, the Euro Cup that recently took place, or the World Cup, I like to get into watching those because it's a nice experience in Germany as well, because they do a lot of public viewings. So you can go to a beer garden, or you can go to a park, and they'll have a big screen up where you can sit there on the grass and watch the football with friends, and that's always quite a nice social experience. So I'd say I do watch it, and I do enjoy it when it's an exciting game and there's goals being scored. I think it's quite exciting. But otherwise, I can't say that I support any particular sports team.
All right, fair enough. As an American, I find it painful to watch. Duncan, if you could have an all expenses paid trip to see any monument on the planet, where would you go?
Any monument on the planet? Well, that's a good question. Monument on the planet.
Or anything remarkable, 7 wonders of the world to pretty much anything on the, let's put anything on the UNESCO list.
Anything on the UNESCO list? Well, honestly, I'll just tell you what first sprung to my mind. So actually two things. Firstly, I'd really like to go and see the ruins at Petra, because I think those are, I've never been obviously, and they look wonderful and historically incredibly interesting. So I'd really love to go and see those. And also the second first thing that sprang to my mind were the pyramids in Egypt. And it might be quite a typical answer, but I think ancient Egypt is absolutely fascinating. And I think the pyramids are also absolutely fascinating, just from a historical, like, architectural perspective. So I really love to go and see them up close. And the Sphinx as well, for instance, in Egypt. I think all of this architecture is absolutely wonderful, and I'd really love to see it up close.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Duncan, do you have a green thumb?
A green thumb? What do you mean by that?
So a green thumb in American idiomatic phrasing means that you're quite good at growing plants, from, gardening to house plants.
Oh, okay.
Are you a greenhouse kind of a guy?
I think, well, in the UK, I think we'd say green fingers rather than a green thumb. But I would. Well, I don't know whether I'm particularly talented at keeping plants, but I would I would love to have the opportunity to do that more. I mean, so what we have done, my wife and I, is that we've grown vegetables on our balcony or on our windowsill. So once we grew some peppers, like some chili peppers, which turned out very well actually. And we tried to grow tomatoes, which was more of a failed experiment. But we have plants at home, and we try to take care of them as well as we can. But I think it can be difficult in an apartment to keep plants that require a lot of light. So I think that during the summer it's no problem, and at home at the moment. So one of my most recent projects was this. I have this beautiful thing. It's called an Australian lemon leaf plant, and if you rub your fingers against the leaves and then smell your fingers, and it really does smell like lemon. But otherwise, the plant itself doesn't have any particular scent. You can only smell the lemon if you've rubbed your fingers against the leaves. But it requires an awful lot of light. And so during the summer, when you could just put it on the windowsill or move it around the apartment where it got a lot of light, then it really sprang up. It grew so much, and it was really nice to see that. And you get a certain feeling of achievement as well, thinking like, wow, I've managed to make this plant grow just by watering it and giving it light. But I'm a bit afraid now, as it goes into winter and the days draw in a bit, that it's not going to have such a good time. But generally, I like plants. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. What I'll have to look for the lemon plant that you're talking about. That's one of my favorite scents. I like it a lot.
It's very fresh. And apparently the leaves you can also use in cooking and cocktails. I haven't tried yet, but that's what the guy at the plant shop told me when I first bought it, that apparently you can make margaritas from the leaves, but I haven't tried that yet.
All right.
But maybe if all the leaves are going to fall off anyway during the winter, then it's something to definitely try whilst I still can.
Duncan, the next question, may or may not have some political backlash to it. What is your opinion, sir, for the person who's flying in the middle seat on an airplane? Does that person get both armrests, or just one or the other, or neither armrest?
Oh, that is a very politically controversial question. I should be careful what I say to this one. Let me think. Well, I don't think that they should get no armrest, because you always have the far left armrest, and then you have, say, two armrests in the middle. So that would be the right armrest of the chair closest to the window, and the left armrest of the middle seat. And then, of course, on the other side, you have another armrest, and then you have the far right armrest. I mean, I think I've always proceeded on the basis that, of course, like the left armrest belongs to the, say, well, if you're on the left-hand side of the plane, the left-hand armrest is your armrest, and then the middle two armrests you should just share, really. Because, for instance, I think what I normally do is I say, if it's on the left-hand side of the plane, then I would tuck my elbow into the back of the armrest, and then the person in the middle could then have the front part of the armrest for their left arm. And I think that seems to have worked. But it's definitely always, but I think, if it's not implicit, then you should probably talk to your neighbor about it and decide how you're going to share the armrests. Maybe you can just come up with some kind of ad hoc rule, because I think the most annoying thing is that obviously if you have one idea and they have another idea, and you're kind of, you're too polite to say anything or to really speak up about it, then you're just going to spend the entire flight sitting there stewing that you don't have at least, say, 1.5 armrests.
So every flight then we need to propose has a middle seat mediator that goes around and organizes what kind of program each row is going to work with.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be the most sensible option.
So I think it's a mediator's answer. I think it always depends.
Yeah, that's true. That is, I mean, but it's, I think it's clear that the airlines definitely need more guidance. So I think after this, I'll try and call United to see whether they like this idea of having an in-flight mediator for armrest disputes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You let me know when you've got that business up and going. I will back you 100%.
Definitely, I will.
100%. Duncan, if you never needed to sleep again, what would you do with the extra time?
I would probably do all the things that I don't have time for nowadays. I think I would read more, because I really like reading, just everything. I mean, obviously not just law books or something, but I like novels, I like nonfiction, I like all of this. I have a huge reading list that I never get around to, because you just have so many other commitments, and I think, you know, you want to just be able to sit down and read your book sometimes, but there are always things coming up that stop you from doing that. And as time goes on, the progress in the current book that you're reading doesn't really increase, but you always come across new books that you want to read, and so your reading list gets bigger, and it's just a very unhappy situation. So I would say if I didn't have to sleep, then I'd spend the time, say, reading, listening to music, things like that.
Wait. Yep. Duncan, I'll ask you the same question I ask everyone on the Idle Chat series for the last question, and that is, what do you love most about the resolution industry and the work that we do?
Good question. And the first thing that springs to my mind is that it's so incredibly diverse. I think I haven't encountered another, say, area of law, or even just a community of legal professionals that is as diverse and, say, international as the dispute resolution community. And I think that makes our work incredibly interesting, because it means that you get to, because I think one thing that I like about the practice in law in general, or one of my most favorite things, is that or about dispute resolution, is that it involves people. It's a people-driven business, because behind every dispute, behind every conflict, there's obviously people. Even if it's with a company, somewhere along the line, there's going to be somebody who's upset about what's happening. And I think that makes it, it allows you to, you get invested a lot more personally in it, I think, and you get to work with so many fascinating people from all over the world. I mean, just look at the two of us, we're talking now, and we met through the dispute resolution community. Like, otherwise we probably never would have encountered each other, but we did. So that's one of my most favorite thing, is that it's you get to meet and work with the most diverse international range of people. And I know that that's, or I'm sure that's not the case with every area of law, or with every, say, community of legal professionals. And it's something that I'm very grateful about, working in this particular area. And it's what keeps me interested as well.
Yeah.
Because you're always meeting the most interesting people.
We really are. We are so lucky in that way. First, our industry colleagues are just the loveliest people. Just the loveliest people.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, but then we, add to that all of our clients and the parties and the expert witnesses and, everyone else who's involved in our industry. And you're right, it does make for a really rich, beautiful tapestry of humanity.
A rich, beautiful tapestry of humanity. That's a really nice way to put it.
So, well, I want to thank you for your time. Really appreciate you meeting me.
Thanks again for having me.
Chat. Yeah, it was lovely to get to know you a little bit, and I hope that we can see each other face to face when COVID-19 is no longer an issue.
So do I.
All right. Well, you take care, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you.